I dropped out of my friend's wedding after she fat shamed my daughter, who was supposed to be the flower girl, for not being able to fit into her dress, and now she's complaining that it's unfair she's losing friends over something she said when she was so stressed from wedding planning. Posted by u/complex_anteater_607. I, 35F, am still friends with some of the people I went to college with. One of them, Debbie, fake name, 36F, got married this past January after being engaged for 2 years. Early in the planning process, Debbie asked my 6-year-old daughter, who was 5 at the time, to be the flower girl. We agreed, and she had the dress sent to us right away. We barely spoke about the subject for a while. Then the wedding was delayed by almost a year. The original date was in March 24. I'm still not sure why. I've heard 3 or 4 different reasons. By the time the actual wedding date came around, the flower girl dress no longer fit my daughter. We didn't find out until roughly 10 days before the wedding, admittedly my fault, and I texted Debbie right away to ask what I should do about it. Her first reply was, "Figure it out." I tried to ask her where she'd bought the dress, where I could get a similar one, or whether it would be okay for my daughter to wear a different dress. I basically gave her a list of ways I could fix this and asked her what she preferred. Debbie responded with, "I don't have time for this. Stop making your whale daughter my problem." Obviously, I decided against attending the wedding after that. As far as I'm concerned, we're no longer friends. And to be clear, I know that up until this point, I was not the jerk. I didn't tell anyone about it at first, but our absence was obvious. My friends missed me, and my daughter was supposed to be the only flower girl. Whenever Debbie was asked about it, she apparently just said we'd had an argument, but it wasn't a big deal. When our mutual friends and acquaintances asked me, I told them the truth, without sugarcoating it or trying to defend Debbie. I even showed my friends the text messages that proved everything. Everyone took my side. About a week ago, Debbie called me. She apologized for what she said about my daughter but told me I have no idea how stressed she was at the time. She said it wasn't fair for her to lose friends over a mistake she made when she was under so much pressure. Again, I don't think I was in the wrong for skipping the wedding, but I'm wondering whether I took it too far by telling our mutuals why. Edit, yes, I know I should have made sure the dress still fit sooner. I already know that was my mistake, and I'm not blaming Debbie for it. That's not what I'm asking about. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Not the jerk. It doesn't matter how stressed and overwhelmed you are, you never talk about a child or adult that way. Ops response. That's part of the reason why I believe I might have been the jerk. I don't believe she would have talked about my daughter that way if she weren't extremely stressed out. Obviously not an excuse, but certainly something I have to take into consideration. Commenter 2. Stop making your whale daughter my problem. She actually said that? And you're asking if telling the truth somehow makes you a jerk? She spoke her truth, why can't you? Now she has no friends and is trying to backtrack. SMH. Not the jerk. But you would be if you accepted her back as a close friend, even after an apology. Ops response. I won't. I will appreciate any apologies that come my way, but we're no longer friends. More on Debbie's behavior leading up to the wedding. I don't know much about how she was to other people these last few months. She was polite to me until what she said about my daughter. Out of all our mutual friends, 2 of them would definitely stop being friends with anyone who spoke about a child like that. Would the dress have still fit had the wedding not been delayed? She sent us the dress in October 23, 5 months before the original wedding date. It was a little big on my daughter at the time, and I believe it would have fit just fine had the wedding not been delayed. It's possible. I remember her Halloween costume, also a dress, still fit her very well around April, and it was also a little big in October. I can't be certain, but I think it would still fit. Is Op's daughter overweight? I don't think it matters here, but I will say that my daughter is not overweight. The dress doesn't fit purely because she's growing up. Commenter 3. Info, did she name call your kid to you in private or in front of your daughter? She's still 100% the jerk unquestionably, but I'm an internet stranger concerned about your kid's mental health and want to make sure she is okay and didn't hear this cruel fat shaming. Ops response. In private. Otherwise, her dentist would be buying a new car. Update 6 months later. Hey guys. I wasn't going to update, but a friend of mine brought the situation up a few days ago, and I remembered posting here. After my post back in March, I didn't hear anything from Debbie for a while. I did speak to my friends a lot, and they told me that she continued trying to get them on her side for a while. From what I gather, her story always matched mine. I forgot to make sure the dress fit. I apologized and asked how she preferred I fix it. She insulted my kid, and as I remember discussing in the comments, whale of a daughter is a better translation. Everyone continued taking my side. Apparently, I wasn't the only one Debbie had problems with before the wedding, my case was just the worst one. There's no doubt that the dress fiasco was my fault. I had a lot going on at the time and several reasons why I forgot to make sure it fit sooner, but no excuse can change the fact that I messed up. But I still don't think giving Debbie options on how I could proceed was the wrong move. I've been a bride before, and I wouldn't want someone else to make a decision about my wedding without giving me the final say. And I can't ignore that her reaction was to insult my daughter. Debbie first texted me in June. She asked me to help her clear the air with everyone because most of our mutuals hadn't spoken to her since April. I was tired of all this, so I told everyone that Debbie had already apologized to me. I made it very clear that while we're no longer friends, I sincerely don't care whether they remain in contact with her or not. She texted me once again early in July. She told me that a couple of our mutuals were talking to her again, but it wasn't the same as it used to be. She asked me whether I was still mad at her. I told her I'm not, and I wish her the best, but I don't think we can continue this friendship. I said I was sorry for the dress fiasco and that I understood she was stressed at the time, but I'll never be able to look past what she did. It would have taken her less time to give me directions than it took to call my daughter a whale. I can forgive rudeness with time, but not insults, especially toward my children. We haven't spoken since. I haven't blocked her, but I have no intention of reaching out again, and I don't think she does either. Some of our mutuals are speaking to her again. Both my best friends from that group want nothing to do with her. I sincerely don't care what anyone does. I won't pretend this never happened, but I've moved on. Like I said, I'm not mad anymore. My daughter will be a flower girl at my cousin's wedding in December, and my family is doing very well. Life has been crazy for a while, but things are finally getting calmer. I won't post here again. Thank you for your time. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. What were the reasons floating around for the year-long delay of the wedding? Ops response. I heard she had problems with her in-laws at some point, but I also heard it had something to do with the venue. Early on, she also claimed that both she and her, now, husband were busy at work. I vaguely remember hearing at least 2 more reasons, but I don't remember them well and can't confirm anything. Commenter 2. Honestly love how adult you were about it all versus scorched earth. Can definitely forgive, never have to forget or be friends after being wronged. Ops response. Scorched earth tends to be more exhausting than it's worth, honestly, and I was already under a lot of stress at the time. I probably wouldn't even have told anyone what had happened if I hadn't been questioned about it. Downvoted commenter 3. Honestly, I'm still blown away by the fact that you, a mother with a child who can outgrow their clothes in a few months, didn't think to check if the clothing still fit after a year. Like, you thought the dress would magically stay the size your daughter was more than a year ago and didn't even think about checking it until a few days before the wedding. I just find it hard to believe that a part of this wasn't subconsciously purposeful. Like you weren't really up for the occasion and were dreading having to go through all the work of attending a wedding with a child who was in the wedding. Which I get 100%. I'm what you would consider an old spinster, and though I've never had my own children, I have 17 nieces and nephews, and even I, who has never raised a child, know that up until they're like 14, I have no expectation that something I bought for them to wear would still fit 4 months later, let alone a whole year. Me, person who has changed one diaper in my entire life, understands this. So I find it hard to believe that an actual mother did not think about this for such a big event. Inconveniently forgot to think about it until just a few days before the wedding. Again, not excusing the friend's behavior, I just think part of you self-sabotaged this a little bit, and you're kind of not owning up to that. Ops response. I'm sorry, but how am I not owning up to that? I have acknowledged multiple times, in my original post, in this update, and in comments, not to mention to my friends, that I messed up. She delayed her wedding by almost a year. Like I said in this post, I had a lot going on at the time. To name a few things that happened in the time it took for the wedding day to arrive, my father had a heart attack, and my husband had issues at work. I also have 3 children and a job. I did not mention any of that because, like I said, these are still excuses, and none of them changed the fact that I should have checked the dress. All of that being said, it was still an honest mistake. I didn't think the dress would magically stay the size that my daughter was for more than a year, I just forgot to check, which I know was my fault. And I did want to go to the wedding, even if I wasn't thinking about it all the time. Commenter 4. Good update. Glad your daughter still gets to be a flower girl for someone. Hopefully, your ex-friend has done some serious reflecting on her behavior. All it takes is one thing said in a moment to ruin relationships forever.